I said that I was probably going to take a break, but I have found a way to continue on this amazing journey of life that we call Noonan Time with Harold. It is I, the man with two hands, the boy on top who cannot be stopped. And I don't mean that sexually because I am in a very happy committed relationship. And if she ever asked me to stop, I absolutely would. But guess what, baby? If she ain't asking me to no, don't you just want to think you never me stop, baby? Yeah, I have sex with a girl who is attractive, more attractive than me. And that's awesome. Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty good way to spend our first minute of this podcast is grunting and running, baby. I was just thinking about Gruntilda from Banjo-Kazooie. If I'm saying that right, which I believe I am, Gruntilda, she was like the witch. She was the main baddie. And I can't remember what the story was. I know that you go to islands, you go to little lands, and you collect puzzle pieces, and you put together the pieces to open new levels, maybe. And then there's the bad witch, and she's doing something. I used to love that game. And now I don't even remember. My cat's in here now, you guys. I don't remember what it was like, the plot. Yes, I have found a way to continue doing the podcast. I'm recording on a stupid laptop. So if the sound quality ain't aces, well, now you know why. It's because I'm on a Lenovo. I think that's how you say it, Lenovo. And it's in the living room, so I don't even have my nice little bedroom to record in. I'm sitting in the living room with a cat, and the cat's got a dingly bell on its necklace, and it's got a dryer ball, and it's playing with it. Y'all know dryer? I didn't know dryer balls were a thing. But apparently it works kind of like dryer sheets, but it's just this big old ball that you throw in the dryer with your clothes, and it does the things, and it helps you drying. And that's crazy to me that I would not know that everything existed that exists. That's always cool, when you discover something new in this world. And that's what I'm here for, my friends. I'm here to help you discover something new about yourself. Last time I spoke to you was for ranking every church that I've been to, Coweta memberships, ranking, I don't remember exactly what the episodes were called, ranking Coweta Churches, I think. In our last episode, we took a deep dive into Community Christian Church in Sharpsburg. And I have gotten more feedback on that episode than I have gotten on any episode. And you know what people are saying? That they agree with me completely, and that place, while it had a lot of lovable benefits, the people there treated other people like garbage. Every single person that messaged me about it had a story. And that was kind of my point, is that everyone I know that was a part of that church and is not anymore, they have a story too. And they have a story similar to mine of the people there, the staff members, treating others like garbage. And that's the way things go over yonder. Or it was. Not saying it still is. It's probably a delightful, merry time now. People grow up, or people get worse. That's the problem, is if you have power and you can keep power, you get worse. Sometimes it takes something really bad to happen to you. Like what happened to me. With my working as a staff member at the old Noonan Theater Company. I had to become worse, and I became a dick. And looking back on it, I'm like, man, I want to punch that dude in the pancreas and maybe repair it and fix his diabetes. But I became a dick for a little bit there because I felt like everything was about my responsibility and what I had to do, and I couldn't be friends with people. You can't be friends with the people you're directing, and it turns out you can. Lesson learned. Not saying that everything that happened to me was my fault, but about 70-80% of it is. And guess what, baby? You know what we call those percentages? We call those use a bitch sentences. And I was being one of those. I did have a friend reach out to me about community Christian church and reminded me about guys group. And he said that he was disappointed that I didn't talk about guys group. Now, what guys group was is what it sounds like. A bunch of guys getting together to talk about guy stuff, like sexual temptation and pornography and how many times we masturbate, because all those things are sins and wrong. So we'd get together and we'd hold each other accountable. The first thing we would do at every guys group is say how many times we both looked at porn and masturbated during the last week. And now, what would have made this actually a beneficial experience is if somebody older and mature who had been through all this stuff would have been around to be like, hey guys, let's stay focused and talk about the temptations and talk about what the actual consequences are. But that's not how it was. It was run by, the son of the pastor. And what we did instead is we laughed about things and we made jokes about masturbating and we made jokes about sex and we made jokes about pornography. And then we also made each other feel bad if we did something wrong by being like, come on, bro, you got to do better than that, bro. And it was just the worst. And I'll tell you what, I'm pretty sure that some of those guys in that group just lied. There were some of them that never, ever, ever looked at porn or masturbated according to their numbers. So they lying in church, man. I don't want to get too much into it because we were all teenagers, and it feels weird now as a 35-year-old man to talk about it, but I was there, and I was part of it. So I can talk a little bit about what I experienced. And what I experienced was, we weren't just teenagers. We hit 18 and stuff. Guys group was still around when we were 18. Yeah, there was a while there where it was like a couple 18-year-old guys and then like 14-year-old guys. It was gross. And everyone who was part of it knows that it was trash and garbage and gross and that it shouldn't have happened. And it still happened for a while. But then it went away. I don't remember why. I think like the pastors actually learned what we are actually doing in the room, and we're just laughing about it and not taking any of it seriously. This was the age that I developed my horrible porn addiction that destroyed me for like a decade. Maybe not a decade. See, now I'm thinking about when I really was able to stop. So not a decade. But it got me for a bit. And I'll tell you what, let's talk about it, okay? Because now that's what we're going to talk about. I am now a clean as a whistle, hat to dismissal. I'm so official, all I need is a whistle. Something like that, Lil Wayne song. Sorry about that. I get distracted when I think of rap songs. I am now as pure as the snow is on a patch of dirt, which is still pure, just with some dirt underneath. But I'll tell you what. I am so anti-pornography. I'm not like anti-sex workers. No. Don't put words in my mouth. But in my experience, and that's all I can base it off of, I would tell people do not get involved with pornography because the negatives are going to get you. And they're all terrible. And they're all like pretty much what you're told, that you're going to lose motivation and that it's going to ruin sex for you and it's going to ruin your erections and all of that. And all of that is true. I don't know how it works for girls, but I can speak for me and the people I was close to growing up about porn addiction, and it is not worth it. You have to find a way. You have to find a way to get that fix somewhere else. And it's hard because there ain't nothing that's as specific as that and so private. Because I'll tell you what, sex, super cool. Big fan. Love it. As I talked about earlier, I get to do it with somebody I love. And wow, so much better than pornography. But obviously, it's not the same as getting to be private and alone and let your fantasies do whatever they want. But man, once you get stuck in that rut, it's going to destroy you. And it's going to just eat away at... Oh, what is that noise behind me? Is that a ghost? Is that a ghost whispering in my ear? Is that porn ghost? Sorry about that. That was porn ghost coming to get me. But my point is, it can stop. You can do it. I believe in you. If you're listening to this and you know that you've got a problem, bro, reach out to me. Did you know that I can carry on serious conversations too? I'm here for you, Brody. I am here to lift you up from the dirt underneath the snow and bring you out to the snow, Brody, and we can rub some snow on you. I don't know why I'm saying Brody. That ain't even one of my words I like to say. I like to say like bro-nana. Apparently, I just tried it for the first time. Can confirm I do not like saying bro-nana. That was disgusting. That was worse than my porn addiction. Anyways, so if you've been PTSD'd by pornography or churches or people with mustaches, I am the man to go to. I am the one to talk to you. I keep a nice back and forth going with several friends of mine who also suffer with bipolar disorder and depression and suicidal thoughts. So I am always open to those kind of conversations. Let's talk about some of this. You want to get on this podcast and tell me why I'm wrong about any of the stuff I ever said? Or even better, do you want to tell me I'm right about everything I've ever said? This is the place to do it. I would love to hear from you. So this has been a pretty serious episode. What have we talked about thus far? We talked about me being handsome. We talked about that I like being in love. Talked about porn addiction. Talked about that church again. And look at that. We're coming up on 15 minutes into the episode already in like 3 more minutes. So anyways, so today we're talking about my number one church, the church that I think is my favorite. But first, it's a Dr. Pepper sip. So if you don't like the sound of somebody slurping, this is the point where you need to stop listening. Because here we go. Ooh, baby. You know what? I totally forgot. That was Coke Zero. That was not Dr. Pepper. Still good. Still delicious. But that was not the drink I thought it was gonna be. Anyways, our final church and the number one favorite of my life is the one I had my childhood in. It is called First Baptist Church Senoia, or Senoia, depending on if you want to pronounce it right or wrong. And for me, this place is not one I'm going to recommend because what I liked about it is that it was my childhood and it is where I grew up and it is where I made my best friends and it is where I learned how to stick up for myself because I had some really horrible bullies there. It is where I learned to have crushes on girls. It's where I became Bible drill state champion. My homeschool group that I was part of, because I was a homeschool little nerd, was directly connected to this place. So we would do all of our events there. That's where I got into acting. Did my first play there, did my second play there, did my third play there. My first play was like an American Girl story. And I played the bully next door. I still have the program from it. I don't remember what my name was. Like Silas. And I was like, "Ew, Samantha, you stink like boogers. Hot boogers." Something horrible like that. And then the other play I did it's just about a family on Christmas who were too materialistic. And I was a little nerd kid who wanted a high-speed computer. I was in Go-Go Jonah. I was King Herod. And I still remember my line. "We've been bad, real bad. But from now on, we will see no evil, speak no evil, and hear no evil." Boom. Still got that line down, baby. Go Jonah, the king, dog. I am on it. I still have that VHS tape if y'all ever want to come over and watch it. So this is where I got all my passions, all the stuff that I do now, not all of it, but most of it. I started doing it at this church because while this church wasn't good at religion, they didn't do, what's the right way to put it? It was a sleepy religion church. They were so sleepy about stuff. It wasn't hellfire, brimstone, stuff like that. Pastor never yelled. yelled, like Yale University, yelled. It was a very subdued, chill place. The music was your typical hymns. The services, it wasn't like one of those places where the services went super long. There wasn't any speaking in tongues, nothing exciting like that. It was very basic. It was a church that you bring your grandparents to, and not even the ones that are crazy religious. Like, we grew up very religious, but we still were comfortable. It wasn't like we didn't have to get baptized till we were really, really ready and we understood it. Like, we had to like explain why we wanted to do it. I remember when I got baptized, there was not pressure put on me to do it or I'd be in trouble. While we got spanked as kids, it wasn't like we had to read Bible verses while getting spanked. Our homeschooling was pretty normal. We definitely had some religious aspects to it, but like, we grew up religious homeschoolers, but not when you imagine religious homeschoolers. It wasn't like bad and scary. I think I went to a lot scarier religions later on in life. And I got lucky because I didn't have any say in the church that I went to. I just was taken there. And it was a big old church. If you've ever been to Senoia, you would know where it is. I would think First Baptist Church. It's behind all the downtown area. It's a big one. And my dad was the music minister and he was a youth minister at one point. My mother was the organ player, and she was an assistant youth minister, I believe, and she was the main custodian. So like, we learned how to clean because we cleaned the church. So as a little boy, I would be running around vacuuming and sweeping and cleaning toilets and stuff. And that made me feel cool. It made me feel like I had responsibilities. My little brother and I used to play a game. We used to play a game called Spies. And while my parents were cleaning the church, we had to go to each room inside the church and be able to go all the way through it. I think the rule was like you had to spend a certain amount of minutes in it, but it may have just been you had to crawl through the room. And you had to go through each one without being seen. So it was me and my little brother, and then my parents were in the church, and I have two older brothers. So my two older brothers were also there. So you had to be able to travel through the entire church without being seen once. And God, that was so fun. We had so much fun doing it. That's one of my core memories as a child, was playing Spies. The playground was cool. There were a lot of special needs people at this church, and a lot of little kids go a long, long time without learning how to communicate and be friendly with the special needs community. And that wasn't true for us. Like, my parents were really close to a man named Steve Mitchell, who was special needs, which, of course, I was a little kid. I was a bully, so I made fun of him sometimes. But for the most part, it was like a cool thing. I remember him really, really well, and he was so inspirational, and he'd do little speeches and stuff. Not speech. Well, they weren't sermons, so they were like little speeches. There's a kid that was in some of the Sunday school classes with us who was special needs. Like, there were a lot of. That's another memory I have from that, and that was really cool. Now the bad. There's bad. Yep, there was bad stuff. I had bullies. My older brother had a bully who also ended up being one of my bullies. And these bullies weren't like the ones at Community Christian Church. Like, they weren't using their power to treat you worse and take control of your spirit. These were like your classic fist fight. A lot of sexual harassment to me by these two guys, bullies. They were awful. And again, I don't know what their deal is now, but Dustin and Josh were their names. I haven't seen them anytime recently. I have no idea what they're up to. But at the time, and they both had really bad family lives, so let's be kind there. I like talking about wrestling with them, but otherwise I was scared. And it was one of those situations where they were around so much because, again, this is a sleepy church. they didn't keep great tabs on things. So they would be able to like corner me and just like beat me up and touch me ways that I didn't enjoy at all. We'll get into that another time probably. Hopefully not, maybe. I don't know. It wasn't like terrible, but it was not ways that when I think back on, I'm like, that was fun. They were really, really awful. And one of the things I remember, though, which is a good memory that came from it, is my oldest brother and I did not like each other. We fought all the time. We never got along. It was, as a kid, I can only remember like 2 or 3 times where him and I got along. Now him and I are fine. But there was one time where my bullies were fucking with me. And what my brother did is he took the cord of the vacuum that he was vacuuming with, and he just charged at them and swung at them with it and scared them off. And they left me alone for like a couple of months after that, because this was the first time, at least in front of me, that my big brother stood up for me and fought back on my behalf. So now it wasn't, hey, you can just go and beat up on Harold anytime you want. It was, you can try, but his older brother now has got his eye on you. And then there were a few other times after that I noticed my big brother would fight back against these bullies. So that's a cool memory that came from it, that came from the bullying. I met my first girlfriend there. I had, like, my first time I ever made out with a girl was in the annex of this church, which is like a little white building that they use for extra space and stuff. But I made out with my girlfriend in there for the first time. That's the first time I ever felt a tongue that wasn't mine in my mouth. And that was neat. Pretty cool. We just did so many fun things because it was less of like a big religious experience and more of like a place that would let you flourish and get to know yourself and grow. And it was lax. It was a relaxed thing. When I got my video camera, I shot most of my first movies over there. So I did a lot of filming there. I filmed some rap music videos there. I got into rap when I was like 12. And I had a rapper. His name was Big G in the CG, which stood for Big Guy in the Callaway Gardens, because Callaway Gardens was my favorite place as a kid. So that was my rap persona, and I would hang out at the church, and I would rap and stuff. We had the Bible Bee, which if you've listened to all the Harold episodes, you've heard me talk about the Bible Bee, because our pastor, he did a special thing just for the kids, where he would have Brother Ted's Bible Bee, and it was like a special little class where he'd quiz us on Bible knowledge, and if we knew stuff, we'd get a Brother Ted dollar, and we could use our Brother Ted dollar at the Brother Ted store at the end of like a month, and that was a great memory. I love that memory, and that's not something a pastor has to do. A pastor does not have to go out of his way to do extra stuff for anybody. And this guy, I thought the world of this man. I thought he was so sweet and kind. I was so nervous when I'd have to clean his office and have to go in there with the vacuum and empty out his trash can, because I thought Brother Ted was just so cool, so sweet. He was like one of my idols, because, again, he wasn't yelling at people and telling them you're going to go to hell. He was just this old fat man. I don't even know if he's alive anymore. Brother Ted, you alive out there? Well, the story ends badly about Brother Ted. What was I saying? So the Bible Bee came from there. That was cool. Like I said earlier, I became Bible drill state champion. We did Bible drill. The way Bible drill works is you hold a Bible, they tell you a Bible verse, you have to be able to find it under 7 seconds, and if you find it, you get a point. And I had a perfect record. I did our, I don't know how it broke up, regional, then semi-state, and then state. But I never missed a single thing. I had that Bible memorized front and back. I could find any verse. Now, that was my second time doing Bible drill that I became champion. The first time I did it, we were just going through the books of the Bible, and instead of saying the book of Job, I said the book of Job. And everyone laughed at me, including the teacher, like the Sunday school teacher. And once everybody laughed at me about it, I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm never going to read the Bible again. And so I read the Bible more because my dad told me I needed to. And I came back better than ever. And you know what I did? Bible drill. State champion. All right, quick water break. Let me take a sippy. Because yelling state champion exhausted me. Oh, God, I just spilled it all over my chest. Oh, no. I am pouring. Oh, gosh, I need a towel. Help! Help! Do I have a towel? You guys can't see it, but it's not good. I'll be back. Whoops. Hello. I am back. I am now wearing a shirt. I was not wearing a shirt before, which you don't need to know about because you're not my girlfriend, and only my girlfriend knows that I have a torso. So, be pure-minded, my babies. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, talking about something that you care about. So, here's what would happen. One day came about where I was told there was going to be a vote within the church on whether or not, Brother Ted should continue as pastor. I didn't know what that meant. No one explained to me why this was happening. No one explained to me why he wouldn't be. My best friend, God, we did everything together. I knew his parents were very mad and that they were going to vote him out. And this wasn't like a vote among staff and deacons. This was a vote for the entire church. And there was apparently like a meeting about it and stuff. I didn't go to the meeting. But I remember somebody standing up and going, I would like to say something. And the pastor saying, nope, we already had that part of the meeting. No more saying stuff. And so they just asked people, stand up if you want him to continue or stay seated if you don't. And I remember my dad standing up. And so I stood up, even though I'm like 10. So confused, looking around the room to see who stood up. Seeing that most of my best friends' families did not stand up, and that, I don't understand why, and I don't understand what's happening, but it's drama. It was like everything was so normal and easy and enjoyable, and then all of a sudden, I come to church one day, and everything's gonna be bad now. So he was voted to stay. And I thought everything was normal and everything was righteous. Yes, my best friend stopped going to the church. Yeah, we kind of stopped being best friends, but we got back to that later on. We got to be best friendage again. So what happened is, a few months later, if my timeline is correct, my dad comes home one day. It's a Monday night, really upset. Then Tuesday morning, he tells us that we're not going to be going to that church anymore. And this came out of nowhere. I had absolutely no clue that this was being discussed. No one ran it by little 13-year-old me and let me know, hey, do you want to keep going or not? What he said happened is he was called into a meeting with the deacons and the pastor. And what they told him was, basically, his kids are not welcomed at the church anymore, that they are too much trouble. They are troublemakers. That my father could stay and be music minister still, but his children could not come to services. And I might be remembering it wrong. Maybe something else was said. Maybe my dad gave more information. But what I remember, and this is the memory I've kept for, how old am I? Over 20 years, is that the pastor was so frustrated with us that we were not welcome to come back. And that mainly it was with my two older brothers, because they were a little bit more chaotic than me. I don't even know if my little brother was mentioned at all. And I don't even know if I really was mentioned or if I'm just remembering it that way because I like to take blame for things. But what happened was, of course, when my dad heard this, he said, well, no, we're not going to be here anymore then. I think he told me he wanted to fight, but he didn't fight. But he was very mad that, and I would be too, if anybody told me, hey, your child, other people's children are, but your child is not welcome somewhere because we don't like the way they are, I would want to beat up that person. And I don't know how to fight at all. So I'd want to choke slam them like in WWE, and then they pretend like that broke their backs, and then I could pin them for 1, 2, 3. That's what I would want to do. So when my father let us know that this is what happened and we would never be back, I was so angry. It was the angriest I have ever been at that point. Now I've been angrier for sure. I went through a divorce, and that made me real angry, some of the stuff that happened there. But that's for another episode, which I'll probably never record. Because right now, hey, bro, we moved on. I got good stuff going on now. So that stuff does not matter right now. So what I did was I went and I sent an email. Yeah, I knew how to email. I sent an email to the pastor letting him know that I was on his side. And I don't know what it was in my brain. At the time, all I could think was selfish thoughts. I thought, wow, I'm not going to see my friends. I'm not going to get to go to the only place where I socialize. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do with my life? I can't just start over. I'm 13, damn it. And so I thought maybe if I emailed the pastor and told him that I think you're right, please let us come, we'll be better, that somehow that would work. Instead, what happened was the pastor printed out my email and he read it to the entire congregation as evidence that the pastor must have done the right choice, because even I agreed with him, and I'm just a kid and I must know the truth then. So needless to say, my parents were very mad at me. We never went back to that church, and it just ended. It was just over. Just went away one day, woke up, poof, it's gone. Which is okay, and that's what happens in life. A lot of times the things we think are going to be there forever, and we're building our whole life around it, you just wake up and poof, it is gone. So that is what happened with me and my number one favorite church that I was a member of. Still don't know exactly why it ended the way it did, at least when I'm older. And the other churches went kapoof. I understand more as to why, because it's my own fault. But this one, it's always going to make me wonder what would have happened or what I could have done differently and why I sent that freaking email. That one's got a lot of confusion wrapped around it. And you know what I could probably do is sit down with my parents and ask them about it. But I'm not going to do that. Because I know they don't want to think about it and they want to move on. So you know what I'm going to do? From this day forward, I'm moving on, baby. So this is the last time I will ever speak again. JK. I live. I die.